Welcome to another episode of Pride, a living room series. Please help me welcome our guest for today, Rebekah Hutson. Thank you for being here, Rebekah.
Of course.
Can you please start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Rebekah. I am a transracial adoptee. For those of you who don't know, that's just an adoptee of one race that's adopted into a family of another race. So I do like a lot of activism work around the adoption industry and just like racial equality in general. I live in LA. I'm from Seattle originally, went to school in Boston, but I've been out here in LA for about 4 years now and I'm loving it.
It sounded like you said 40 years.
40 years? I'm 62.
When we're born, you either have the easy way where it's like you're born hetero or you're born queer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're already put in a box. And then once you're in that box, for example, for the queer community, you have to pick a label or just like identify specifically who you are. It's like you have to pick in order to be understood by everybody else. So what has been your experience in trying to explain or choose from what it is expected of you to choose?
My experience has been that I don't really feel like I fit into any of the quote unquote labels. Like growing up, I grew up in a very religious household, so it wasn't even like a option, I guess, to be anything other than heterosexual. And then like I wasn't exposed to anything in the queer community until I really got to college. So it wasn't really until I got to college and I was like, oh, there's like actually like language and stuff that actually describes what I'm feeling as far as like my sexuality. And then like once I got to learn a little bit more things, I kind of just attached myself to the bisexual label. And that's kind of the label that I assigned myself to for a long time. But then as the years went by, I kind of felt like I wasn't really just bisexual because like for me, I'm pretty much attracted to like anything, any gender, any identity is a non-issue for me. So I think technically I'm more pansexual, but I just don't really feel like I fit into any of the labels that exist right now. I'm whatever. And anytime people ask me, I'm just like, girl, I don't care. Gender just like such non-issue for me. Like if I like you, I like you. It truly does not matter for me. Kind of always just felt weird about like assigning myself a label specifically for my sexuality because it just doesn't really feel like it fits my identity personally.
Similar to you, I realized I was attracted to women when I was in college, and that was even a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So going from being with men my whole life to having that realization later on, I felt the same way where like I had to pick and like I'm like, oh, maybe I am bisexual, but then suddenly it was like, oh wait, but maybe I'm this. And it's that constant thing of having to find that answer so that someone else can understand who you are. We have to explain ourselves in order to make sense in society.
Yeah, to other people. It's like we have to create the language and the labels to explain ourselves to other people instead of just being allowed to just exist.
So Rebekah, what would you say to someone who is having that same struggle?
I would just say, honestly, to not care what other people think. I'm a big advocate in just doing what works for you. And that's something that I've been learning how to do for myself is just kind of being at peace with I don't need to explain my sexuality to people. It's really none of your business unless we're in a relationship. Doesn't really matter. So just be comfortable in whatever identity you feel like. If you feel like you fit into one of these labels that exist, great. If you feel like you don't, that's cool too. Like there's not like one way to exist as a queer person, and you just need to do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable.
Now we are going to go into the last segment of our show. My last guest, CQ, asked you a question that you'll answer, and then at the end, you're going to get a chance to ask a question that my next guest will answer.
Lay it on me.
CQ asked you,
if you could meet any person who is no longer living and have a conversation with them, who would it be?
Ooh, I would probably say Maya Angelou, because for me, her writing was a huge role model for me growing up as somebody who wasn't connected with my culture growing up. Writing and literature was kind of the first way I got connected to my community, and her writing specifically was huge. It was like the first time that I saw like a Black woman actually like expressing her identities through her writing. So I would love to just have a conversation with her about just like how she felt comfortable being able to do that. And also she has an amazing backstory too. She's very much one of those like came from nothing and made something of herself. So just like having a conversation with somebody who was able to do that would just be phenomenal. We could do brunch. Honestly, I want to see a drunk Maya Angelou.
Bottomless mimosas, Maya Angelou. Like, that's what we want.
I feel like is a fun day drunk.
Speaking of day drunk, we have decided to do a shot together to celebrate us, to celebrate life, queerness, everything about it. Since it's midday, it's funny that we both picked coffee-related shots.
Yeah, we did.
Is there anything that you want to cheers to, Rebekah?
You know, cheers to being queer and being weird and being here.
Yeah.
Way too early for that, but I'll take it.
Rebekah Hutson, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And that was another episode of Pride, a living room series. I will see you in the next episode, and remember, stay queer, have a good one.